Okay, so in this video, we are going to discuss a very interesting case that is typically asked in a lot of interviews. So let's suppose there is a location that you have figured out for which the lease is almost 4.5 lakh annually. Okay, now you have to figure out whether that location makes sense for a particular dark store or not. And this is typically asked in different interview questions for companies like Blinkit, Zepto, Instamart, Flipkart Minute. So all of them can ask you this case question. So this 4.5 lakh number can vary depending on the interview, but ideally we'll discuss the framework that or the structure that you should follow in such kind of a case interview. So the first part of the interview basically would be understanding the different costing parameters that are involved in running a dark store. The first is obviously the lease. So in this case, 4.5 lakh is almost coming out to be 37,500 rupees per month. Okay, so that is the one most important cost. The second important parameter of the cost would be the manpower cost. So there would be different people involved, like a dark store manager, there would be a picker, there would be packers, there would also be a security guard. So considering like 8 to 12 people are usually required to be present in a dark store, and everyone is, let's suppose, getting a salary of, let's say, 15,000 to 25,000. This means that you would typically need 1.5 to 2.5 lakh monthly expense just to pay for the manpower cost. The third parameter that would come here into the picture is the inventory cost. So a dark store typically holds almost 4,000 to 5,000 of inventory, and the costing of this somewhere comes between 30 lakh to 60 lakh, depending on the location, depending on the count of SKUs that you're going to hold. The fourth cost that comes here would be the technology cost or the utilities cost. So ideally, in order to set up a dark store, you need to make certain investment in terms of the refrigeration, in terms of CCTV cameras, you need a scanner, you need a computer system. So all of those things would be a one-time cost. And then utilities will basically involve electricity, water, and all of that. So typically this cost would somewhere comes out to be 10 to 20 lakh. So this is majorly a one-time cost, just in order to set up the dark store operations. But electricity, water, all of this cost, these are minute costs, somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000 monthly. Finally, the fifth cost is basically the delivery cost. So ideally, you would be paying your delivery partner somewhere between 25 to 40 rupees per order, depending on the location, depending on the distance of the delivery and all of that stuff. So these are majorly the 5 headers that are there as the costing parameters to make a delivery. Now you can see that the lease amount 37,500 actually is a very small contribution to the entire cost of running a dark store. So the question is not whether that 4.5 lakh rupees is expensive or not. Rather, the question is whether this dark store economically is viable or not. So now we would come to the second parameter of analyzing this case. The second would basically be the location factors. So we will consider 6 factors here to depict whether the location of the dark store makes sense or not. The first is basically the catchment population. So considering that the dark store caters to a delivery radius of almost 2 kilometers, so ideally you need to have almost 50,000 to 80,000 households that are present in that 2 kilometer radius. If you have that much of household, it will show that there is a consistent frequency of orders that is coming to the dark store. The second would be average order value potential of your neighborhood. So ideally, your locality could either be premium locality or it could be middle class locality. So the difference between the two is, in case of a premium locality, your average order value is going to be high, but the frequency of order is going to be low. Whereas in case of a middle class locality, your average order value is going to be low, but your frequency of orders is going to be high. So your assortment strategy is going to change for both of these cases. In premium, you would have items like electronics, mobiles, imported vegetables, fruits, all of that stuff. But in case of middle class locality, you would have items which are used on a daily basis, like soap, grocery, fruits, vegetables, skincare products, all of it. So both of the strategies make sense. It's just that you should know the potential of your locality. The third pointer that would come here is the competition that is already present. So let's suppose you have already 4-5 other companies that is present in that locality. In this case, everyone is competing for that same share of market. So your dark store typically might need 12 to 18 months just to break even. But in case there is no competition, then you would get that first mover advantage. Okay, so always keep the competition in mind. The fourth is physical suitability of that location. Okay, so this would be determine in terms of two things. One is whether your delivery partners can comfortably pick up orders. So ideally it should be present on the ground floor. Okay. The second thing is whether your delivery trucks can replenish the dark store easily. There should be enough space for delivery truck or delivery tempo, whatever vehicle it is, to come to that dark store and replenish the orders. A typical good size of a dark store is somewhere between 1500 to 2000 square feet. So it can typically hold almost 4000 plus inventory. The fifth parameter that would come here is the delivery radius and the connectivity. So ideally the delivery partners that are picking the orders from the dark store should be able to cater to the customer within 10 minutes, because that's a promise that you are making to the customer, and if you are not able to fulfill to that promise, your customers is going to switch to the competition. So you have to check for the connectivity issues. You have to check whether the roads are good or not, whether there is any traffic issue, whether there is any river or water body or anything. So in case there are such hurdles in the delivery such that 2 kilometer radius delivery isn't possible within 10 to 12 minutes, then probably you need to relook at the location. And the sixth and the final step is basically the future scalability. So you are not building a dark store, for short term like 12 to 18 months. You are building a dark store for 3 to 5 years. So your future potential of the neighborhood or the locality becomes very important. You have to see whether any new residential buildings are coming up or not, or whether any new IT parks are coming up or not, or any new metro stations being built up in that locality or not. So if the infrastructure development potential is high for that area, it will definitely give you an added advantage to the dark store. Now the third parameter is that we'll talk about the financial viability of the dark store. So we have to understand what is the minimum amount of orders that you are required to cater on a daily basis such that your dark store is able to hit break even. So we are going to do 3-4 analysis for this. Let's suppose that the company makes almost 25 to 35 rupees per order. So I have taken 3 scenarios, 25, 30 and 35. And I have considered 3 scenarios for the monthly cost of the dark store. One is 3 lakh, one is 5 lakh and one is 8 lakh. So if I divide the two, the monthly cost by the earnings per order, this is the monthly orders that the dark store needs to cater in order to break even. So for the entire scenario purposes, these are the monthly orders that the dark store needs to do. Now on a daily basis, I can just divide it by 30, and this is the count of orders that you need to do on a daily basis in order to break even. So let's suppose for the first scenario, if the costing of the dark store is 3 lakh monthly and the company is making 25 rupees per order, you have to do at least 4 orders on a daily basis. Whereas for the last scenario, suppose you are making 35 per order and the cost of dark store is 8 lakh, then you have to do at least 750 orders on a daily basis just to break even. So you have to plan whether the dark store has that potential to cater to those many orders, and understand the initial first to 3 months is the ramp up strategy. So suppose you are planning to do 700 orders. Okay. So probably for the first month you can target to hit order count of 200. For the second month you can plan to hit 400. For the third month you can plan to hit 600, such that by the end of the fourth month you can cross 750 plus orders. So that is how you need to plan. And in case your dark store is able to hit this count of 750 plus orders, then you need to work on the assortment strategy. You need to increase the assortment. You have to increase your marketing budget so that the 750 can probably go and cross 1000. And it is not possible that from the first month onwards you are going to hit the target that you have in mind. Gradually you are going to build up. So ideally your assortment strategy should be clear, and you should have a path whether you are able to achieve that break even number of orders or not. Now finally, the part 4 of the case would basically the decision. So how would you arrive at a decision? So this is the framework that I am using. You feel free to use any other framework that you want to. So we'll give different kind of color codings for the decision. So let's suppose green means that you have decided to go ahead with this location for the dark store. Yellow means you have decided to go ahead, but there are certain conditions. And red means it's a strictly no. So you would judge the particular location on different parameters, what we discussed, like the catchment area, the future scalability, any connectivity issues or not, average orders you need to do on a daily basis just to break even. So on those parameters, you would ideally be deciding whether that location is hitting all the check marks or not. If it is hitting all the check marks, then it's a green. Yellow would be you are hitting certain check marks but not all. So in case of yellow, you have to remember, you don't have to go very aggressively, rather start and negotiate, the lease amount, try to negotiate and cut down on costs. start with almost 1500 to 2500 SKUs. You don't need to start with 4000, 6000 SKUs. This is the good amount, and if you are able to see that traction, you can always scale it up. And in case there is a major red flag in terms of all the parameters we discussed, then it is a red color and it's a strictly no, and you cannot go ahead with this dark store. So you can use any other priority framework also as per your wish. So the point that you have to understand that 4.5 lakh rupees, annual rupees, whether it is expensive or not, that is not the right question. Rather, the right question is your dark store going to be break even within 6 to 9 months? If not, then that location is not the right fit for the dark store. If yes, then go ahead with this location for the dark store. So to sum up the entire case, we first understood the costing parameters of running a dark store. Then we talked about the location factors that are important. Then we discussed a financial sense just to understand the minimum number of orders to be done in order to break even. And finally, we did a ranking scorecard kind of system to determine whether that location makes sense or not. So this is how you need to discuss it in an interview. Do subscribe to this channel. A lot of such case interviews I'm going to share on this channel. And in case you like this video, feel free to share your experience in the comment section. In case you want to connect with me on one-on-one basis, then there is a link of TopMate in the description. Feel free to book a session with me. Also, I have a WhatsApp community which you can join. Again, the link you will find in the description. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.